Okay, interwebs, I'm Bren, B-Man, and this is World of Warcraft Classic. So I'm going to head on down to Booty Bay and try and get the last page of the Green Hills of Stranglethorn. And then I have to go to Alterac. I think I'm missing page 24.
Well met. For the Alliance.
Order primitive, but they've got a good war machine going. The goblins help them out a little.
Interesting. Be good.
This might level me. It's a big quest.
You got my attention. Very good.
You know, when I get it completed, I'm going to read the whole thing.
You got my attention.
Chapter 3 is my favourite. It tells of Sir Earl Gadden and Lady Roak's first kill with a dwarven rifle, and the end of Chapter 3, why such a cliffhanger. Looks to me as though we still need pages 18, 20, 21 and 24 to finish the chapter. Those pages are out there somewhere.
Watch your back. How are ya?
Any luck with pages 18, 20, 21 and 24? Those are the only ones we need to piece together Chapter 3. Phew, good work, Bayman. Chapter 3 is now back together in one piece.
See you soon.
Chapter 1. Our first day went as well as one can expect first days to go. Most of our time was preoccupied with making the necessary arrangements to establish a base camp. I located an ideal setting by a fresh river water inlet. Judging by the old abandoned docks nearby, the site was inhabited some time ago. As for the original inhabitants, only time can tell that tale. For this expedition I have assembled Alex Ruak and Sir J. Earl Gadden, along with my trusted servant Barnel Stonepot. I fought alongside Ajax's father's side in my many battles in defence of the Alliance. Seeing her grown is quite special. Her father schooled her well in the ways of weaponry. Her skills with a bow make me wonder if there is elven blood running through those veins. Sir S. J. Earl Gadden comes from human aristocracy. His father, Count Earl Gadden, was renowned for his generosity. It was the Count who lobbied for improved working conditions for the Stonemasons Guild during the restoration of Stormwind after the Second Great War. In the years that followed, after Stormwind betrayed the Stonemasons Guild, Sir Earl Gadden grew bitter about the role of the nobles within the kingdom. He no longer wished to uphold the position that his father's bloodline had earned for him in the House of Nobles. But I digress. The purpose of this story is not to act as a political treaty or a biography. This is the account of my experiences hunting big game in the green hills of Stranglethorn. Just taking notes. We rose with the sun. Barnel began to prepare the morning meal. I noticed Ajax's attention was somewhat distracted. The day's trek would be long and our hunt would bring us close to danger. A lack of focus could easily lead to an errant mishap, yet Ajax seemed unable to divert her gaze from Barnel, who stood by the edge of the river rinsing out his mess kit. Just as I was about to question Ajax's lack of interest in the day's hunting strategy, she reached for her quiver, drew an arrow, and unleashed a shot right towards poor Barnel. But it was not Barnel that Ajax was shooting at, for when Barnel stepped aside, mouth agape, a large river crocolisk floated to the surface with Ajax's arrow perfectly placed between his two large eyes. We set out toward the west, through the thick overgrowth of the tangled jungle. Moving with slow, deliberate steps, we paced through the thick foliage in search of prey. The morning passed in frustrated silence. Nothing was stirring in the vale, not even a breeze. By the afternoon, the expedition had grown restless. Barnel no longer strode with the cautious steps of a predator tracking prey. Rather, he clumsily clomped along the path, often stepping noisily on dried leaves or fallen branches. Every one such misstep, Elgadden laid a heavy hand on Barnel's shoulder. Ajax and I gave a casual glance, assuming the man was simply giving Barnel a much-needed scolding for his carelessness. Elgadden, however, gestured slowly with his head toward a nearby fallen tree. Gazing back at us were two piercing black eyes just above a mouthful of razor-sharp fangs. End of Chapter 1. The beast was a male Stranglethorn tiger. Before I could cock my rifle, Elgadden raised his crossbow and fired upon the beast. The bolt missed its mark and caught the beast heavily in the left flank. The tiger made a futile attempt to flee, but its wound was too grave. The beast stumbled for a few tragic seconds until Barnel finished the kill with a thrown axe. The kill brought about a festive mood amongst the expedition. Barnel poured mead for all to enjoy, but our festivities were short-lived. As we were preparing the corpse for transport back to base camp, we were all caught off guard by a horrendous growl. In all my years, I have never heard anything so blood-curdling. On a rocky precipice above, silhouetted by the setting sun, I could make out the largest cat of prey I have ever laid eyes upon. I was able to loose one clumsy volley with my rifle, but the cat held his ground. He growled once again, this time louder than the first, and vanished. We gathered our belongings and headed solemnly back to camp. I promised the expedition that we would spend the next day hunting panthers, as their furs are in high demand throughout Azeroth. It only makes sense that such demand should exist with all of the able-bodied hunters, trappers and fur traders, off giving their lives so valiantly in the name of the Alliance. Ajax and Sir Elgadden were anxious to learn how to hunt effectively with a dwarven rifle. I had the two humans leave their primitive range weapons at base camp. Barnel and I outfitted them with some of Ironforge's finest firearms. On this day we ventured to the south, following some fresh panther tracks. Soon we reached a ravine spanned by a tremendous rope bridge. I could not help but to think of Brand's descriptive writings of this region when I saw the engineering marvel. So often it was assumed that the native trolls were a primitive and uneducated race, yet as I gazed upon the master craftsmanship of the bridge, I was able to recognize the skill with which the troll builders overcame the seemingly impossible feat. Before long, Ajax tracked the panther to the southwest. We walked quietly, guns at the ready, in anticipation of our prey. A snapping of twigs from a nearby copse of trees drew our attention immediately. Something was in there. One stern glance at Barnel was enough to convey my thoughts. Barnel slowly lowered his rifle. This kill was not for us. It was for our human companions. Countless panthers had lost their lives in front of our smoking barrels. This kill would be for the humans. Both Ajax and Sir Elgadden stood poised, gun levelled at the bristling overgrowth at the base of the swaying trees. The midday sun beat heavily upon us. A slow trickle of perspiration trailed down from Elgadden's temple as he pulled the pin back. Upon the sound of the click, the thick flora parted and a large black panther, a beautiful specimen, darted out onto the plain. End of Chapter 2. Chapter 3. The humans trained their sights on the panther as it ran along the edge of the tree line. The barrels of their guns moved in perfect parallel tandem. Barnel gave me an urging glance, but I shook my head no. This hunt was for the humans, not Barnell or me. Elgadden fired a booming shot, missing the panther altogether. Apparently he was unprepared for the violent kickback of the rifle blast. His gun tossed back violently in his arms. The barrel swooped sideways and came up beneath Ajax's rifle. Ajax had chosen that exact moment to pull her trigger. The rifle, the aim now knocked clumsily toward the tree line, went off with a distinct boom. A flock of birds screamed out of the canopy, scattering in every direction. A plume of smoke rose from the tree. We watched in awe as a tremendous branch fell squarely on the fleeing panther, breaking its back. As the weeks passed, our stockpile of panther and tiger skins grew immense. I decided it was time for the expedition to shift our focus to a new challenge: raptors. The humans, while appreciative of the training Barnell and I offered, decided to refrain from hunting with firearms. Ajax was much more comfortable with a finely strung bow, and so Elgadden never left camp without his sturdy crossbow. We set out at first light, heading south past the Takashi ruins. Barnell voiced concern that we might encounter members of the Blood Scalp tribe. I reminded Barnell that the Blood Scalps were more concerned with destroying their tribal enemy, the Skull Splitters. Needless to say, Barnell was not comforted in the least. I, however, had a loaded rifle, a satchel full of gunpowder, and 3 deadly hunters with me to ease any concerns of an unfriendly ambush. I've stood before a towering infernal on the battlefield, the army of the Burning Legion advancing from all directions. An unruly band of trolls seems as harmless as a jackrabbit in the hills of Dun Morah. We passed the Takashi ruins without event, much to Barnell's relief. The party proceeded to head westward toward the Great Sea, skirting the ruins of Zelkunda just to the south. As we ascended the high sea bluffs, we spotted our first raptor. The beast never so much as detected our presence. In fact, the only greeting he received from the expedition was a bullet between the eyes. Sir Elgadden let out a hearty hurrah as Ajax nodded toward me with keen approval. I sifted through my pack in search of my pipe, hoping to enjoy a celebratory smoke. Barnell began to scurry up the hillside to retrieve the raptor's corpse. I stared at the fallen beast with the satisfaction that accompanies every big kill. But I could not bask in the glory of the kill for long, for when I turned my eyes toward the horizon, several silhouettes appeared cresting the hill just above Barnell. "Flee, Barnell!" I shouted. Ajax, Sir Elgadden, and myself loosed a volley of bullets, arrows, and bolts over Barnell and towards the pursuing raptors. One of us landed a kill amidst the confusion. Our hastily aimed shots were enough to buy Barnell's escape. Barnell clambered back down the hill and rejoined the party. We scurried off into the jungle. A pack of ferocious lash-tail raptors stalking our every move. The hunters were now the hunted. Is that part 3 or 4? This is part 4. I led the party toward the sea, hoping the shoreline would provide refuge from the raptors. In our haste, we had drifted too far north to a precariously high elevation. The mistake was made. The fault was mine. We stopped just short of a sheer cliff, the raptors just a few paces behind. I stepped slowly forward, gun raised. I had led these brave hunters to their death. I would die defending them. Lashtail raptors are particularly fierce, known for their unrelenting bloodthirst. They far outnumber us, but I would be damned if I let them kill me and my comrades without shedding some of their own blood first. Ajax and Sir Elgadden readied their weapons, flanking me on either side, our backs to the sea. Barnell let out a defeated sigh and drew his axe. The lashtails were almost upon us. Their steady stride had slowed. They were stalking their prey now, for they knew they had us trapped. And then something miraculous happened. From off to our side we heard the distinct and terrifying roar of the great white tiger. Despite their numbers, the raptors turned and scattered in all directions. We saw by the brief white flash as the tiger darted past us and pounced on one of the raptors. No command needed to be given. All 4 members of our party knew it was time to run. We sprinted all the way back to base camp, never slowing. Later that night we sat quietly around the campfire. Knowing our lives had been saved by such a bizarre twist of fate. Such are the risks of the big game hunter. We toy with fate by delivering it. Yet each of us at some point will face fate's razor-sharp teeth. This dwarf is just glad that moment did not come upon the green hills of Stranglethorn. Alright, let's go and give the completed book. What am I doing? There. Server shut down in 15 minutes. How long?
What's on your mind?
Have you assembled the chapters yet, Bayman? You've certainly saved me a heap of trouble, Bayman. I can't thank you enough. It shouldn't be long now until we see Master.
Off with you. What can I do for you?
Have you assembled the chapters yet, Bayman? You've certainly saved me a heap of trouble, Bayman. I can't thank you enough. It shouldn't be long now until we see Master nesting Lurie's books in libraries throughout the world.
Safe travel. Hi. Off with you.
What can I do for you? Light bless you.
Well met. Safe travel.
Light be with you. What can I do for you today?
Archbishop Benedictus. The Scourge is a persistent threat to the Alliance, a fact I am sure you know quite well. Recently we have come across some very peculiar findings, Bayman. In the Barrens lies a horrid tangle of briars called Razor Fen Downs. While once it was the home of simple Quillbore, now it has become apparent that a pact was made with the Scourge, creating creatures far worse. They are now ruled by the Lich, Amnena the Coldbringer. Align yourself with the light, Bayman. Put an end to this evil union. Ooh, nice. Better than what I've got. Nice. I think I get to Razor Fen Downs in time for it to still be useful, but whatever. Okay, so I don't know how long the server's going down for. I don't know if it's going down for 2 minutes or 2 hours.